Great. It's my first conference, my first Bitcoin conference, and having a good time, meeting a lot of people that I only knew from Twitter, so that's pretty cool.
That's really, I recognize just your profile picture when I saw you in real life.
Yeah.
I was expecting to see, is it Euclid or?
Yeah, well, maybe the profile picture was promising too much. But this is Galileo, so he's, I studied physics, and he's kind of the first person you learn about when you study physics, and yeah, I just thought the picture is nice with laser eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, what did you speak about here at the conference?
Yeah, I did speak about script restoration. I've been working on that for about a year now, and this is really like a big picture approach on thinking about Bitcoin at a very high level and how the scripting language of Bitcoin should evolve. And it's really fundamentally asking the question of what should Bitcoin be? Should it be this programmable money that I believe initially this was the idea of it, that you don't just have ownership and the potential to spend coins to a new address, but we do have a scripting language built on top of that. And currently the scripting language is unfortunately extremely limited. And script restoration, it is really this approach of making it programmable and going this very general approach where we add a lot of expressivity, and it would enable a lot of use cases on Bitcoin, which I believe is a benefit for the future. Yeah.
I've heard of GSR, the Great Script Restoration.
The Grand Script Renaissance.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard that term before. Is that the same? So when you're saying script restoration, that's the same as the Grand Script Renaissance?
Yeah, I eventually dropped the great. I think it just sounds more professional. And yeah, it's just script restoration. It really includes, the idea is really to make the scripting language very well-rounded and programmable, but it includes this part of restoration, so it brings back some functionality that the scripting language has historically had in the very early releases of Bitcoin. But yeah, it really goes further than restoration, so it also aims to add some more recent ideas like introspection and some other opcodes that we have heard today, like checkstic from stack, and it really tries to enable a lot of features that other recent BIPs also try to have.
Are you continuing the work of Rusty Russell?
Yeah, basically. So Rusty, to me it seems that he has spent a lot of time on Bitcoin. He's been there since the very early days, I believe. And he recently started a new project, which is about, I don't think I can explain that really well here, to be honest. But unfortunately, I believe Rusty has moved on from Bitcoin. It seems like that. I hope this is not the case, or it is just a temporary phase. Rusty developed most of these ideas. About 1 year ago, I read a bunch of his blog posts, and all these ideas, they just seemed very logical to me. And then I realized no one is working on this. Why is no one working on this? I always see a bunch of people, especially technical people, developers, they kind of seem to think that directionally this approach is the correct one. This is at least what my impression was. And at the same time, I felt like builders are too restricted. I like the work of BitVM, of Robin Linus, for example. I think it's very impressive what they can do now in this scripting language. And I just felt like this makes sense. First off, this general computational budget. So currently we just budget signature operations, which is just strange to me. And then also, like multiplying two numbers. Why don't we have a multiplication opcode in script? This is just, I'm a software engineer, so I think about it from the software engineering perspective and a programming language. And I'm wondering, why can I not OR two elements on the script? Why can I not multiply numbers? And it is just weird. It really, I think if you have people who are interested in Bitcoin fundamentally and they would like to build a protocol on top of it, it just makes that really hard, and they just move to a different project. And I think this is extremely unfortunate, because in the end, Bitcoin should be this one thing everything should happen on Bitcoin, and we don't want to fracture this space. So
is it true or is it false that script restoration is one BIP, it's one proposal that is making many different changes to Bitcoin script at the same time, including opcodes and other things?
Currently there are 2 BIPs published, and I believe there will be 2 more BIPs, so it will be 4 BIPs in total. The first BIP is simply about the computational budget, so it's not directly related to script restoration, and I believe this BIP alone is sensible by itself. So it would cost operations, for example hashing, which are currently not costed, but they are also computationally expensive. So just the computational budget is a generally sensible concept by itself. And then the second BIP is like the script restoration BIP. So it brings back this functionality that we had historically in script. It also loosens some other limits. It adds a new number type. But then there's also this extension part. So I like to think about it in restoration and extension. And even though the whole thing is called like great script restoration, it also includes these newer concepts like introspection and similar things that were covered today, for example, by Stephen. The BIP 448 ideas, rebindable signatures, and covenants. It should be like a whole package which makes the scripting language a useful and or usable language, such that builders can build protocols. And
you're referencing the talk that Stephen gave today, and also just covenants in general. Is there a particular covenant? Like, are there particular covenants that are included in the script restoration? Is there a way that you want to go about it? Do you have a preference for some over others? And have there been specific opcodes that have been specified as the path that you want to take?
There is a draft BIP by Rusty, which is called OptX. And you can think about it as the most powerful and general introspection opcode. So it simply lets you read from the prev outs directly. So you can specify, I want these fields, and it just pushes them onto the stack. This is the most powerful, most general opcode. You can also think about it like OptX hash, but without the hash. So you could still hash them manually afterwards. So it's like just a more powerful version of OptX, really, TX hash. And so I believe there should be a selector-based opcode. So maybe OptX hash is also good enough. And I really have to think more deeply and discuss with other people if it is enough to have the hash, or if there are lots of benefits to having the pre-image, right? Because you could always hash afterwards. But Stephen today, there were a bunch of questions about having the selector-based opcode or having like a template hash where you set the template. And to me, it seems more logical to have to give the builder really this selector. So with the template, I feel like there might be someone for whom this template doesn't fit, and then they would again begin this consensus discussion. And to me, it's more logical to have this general approach, and this can always emulate something like template hash or CTV. But these ideas are more recent and less explored, and they have the drawback of having a larger consensus change, so more review, and people have to think about it way more. And this seems to be the main issue.
I was speaking to Russell O'Connor yesterday, and he was telling me about some of the origins of TX hash, now that you bring it up, like being able to specify certain fields instead of taking a hash of the entire transaction template. And he told me that this idea came to him from being part of simplicity. Mm-hmm. So, we see some proposals where we want to change one opcode here, one opcode there. Everyone has their BIP where they want to make one little change to Bitcoin. And I think that there's something categorically similar about script restoration, great script renaissance, and also simplicity, in that you want like a bigger overhaul. Like you want to make a new vision of Bitcoin script comprehensively. Do you see that in common between that? Do you have any thoughts on simplicity? Or do you think I'm wrong?
No, I've heard, simplicity has been implemented in Liquid, and it seems to work. It is just really even way more different. If you think that GSR is too much and too different from the existing code base, I think then simplicity is an even larger difference. It might be more more beautiful or more logical if you would start completely from scratch. But GSR is really taking the existing script interpreter. It keeps this. It's basically just adding these new opcodes, and then it's changing the number types, and it is not fundamentally completely changing how the script interpreter works. It just really extends and extends the functionality, makes it more flexible. But it's still the same scripting language in the end.
Yeah, so you're not moving away from Bitcoin script to something else. You're just making several changes. Okay, that's clear.
I do have to admit, though, I'm not really an expert on simplicity, so...
You don't need to be.
Yeah.
Okay, and what excites you the most about script restoration?
Well, I'm currently in a research group. This has started quite recently, yeah. But there are a lot of people who really like this idea of verifiable computation, which we have seen on different chains, which, I don't know, I think, for example, Ethereum has a lot of interesting research on it, and we should actually look at that research and think, what could we adopt for Bitcoin, or how could this help in scalability, privacy, user experience, and so on, because Bitcoin obviously isn't there. It seems extremely hard to convince people to actually use Bitcoin. We can see there's no one really using the chain. The fees are extremely low. There's no demand for block space. And I just feel like the end user experience has to be much better. Many people don't want to use Bitcoin because of the privacy issues. And there are ideas, very smart ideas, like shielded CSV, for example, is a concept that I really like. It helps with scalability and with privacy at the same time. And it is completely trustless if you are able to build it. And currently the main issue there is that we cannot build a permissionless bridging system on Bitcoin. Also, I really like the idea of sidechains. I think Liquid would be great, but it's really just, it is a multisig at the end of the day, and I think this is what for most makes it like, it is not Bitcoin in the end. You cannot permissionlessly bridge out, even though there are some convenient swaps now. It is not Bitcoin. It has trust assumptions, and like sidechains is something that I would like to see.
So you mentioned there's 4 BIPs in total, right? For this change.
Yeah.
You're mentioning that, block space is low, people have difficulty using Bitcoin. I definitely agree with you about that. Is there a particular pain point that you see script restoration solving in the user experience? Like, we're having this very deep conversation that assumes that people know what Bitcoin script even is. How would somebody who is like a Bitcoin maxi, who has like a wallet, and they just go on Bitcoin Twitter, how would their life improve in transacting and so on should the script restoration activate?
Yeah, that's a hard question, and I believe it's important to think about these ideas, but this is really a very low-level protocol change, and the change is meant to be for developers, for engineers, and for researchers that build on top of Bitcoin. So the end user they shouldn't know about this idea of script restoration, or even that it uses a scripting language. It would just expand the design space of what you can do on Bitcoin, and this would then resolve in completely new second-layer protocols. As I mentioned, shielded CSV, for example, or rollups or sidechains. All these ideas could be used to improve the user experience and just build better second layers.
What would change for shielded CSV?
Well, currently you cannot build shielded CSV because you cannot permissionlessly bridge onto that shielded CSV layer. And I believe what the ideal group is now building is a one-way bridge, so it is still permissionless. And apparently this is something you can build. but no one wants a one-way bridge. You're basically sending your Bitcoin to a null address. You're burning your coins, and you can never bridge them back, if I understand it correctly. And yeah, I think there are a lot of smart people, and they are just I don't know. They are struggling with these script limitations, and they have to do these crazy mind bends. And I think that's really stupid, to be honest.
Okay, that's clear. And just for the audience at home, can you just explain what shielded CSV is?
Well, GSA is not directly related to shielded CSV. It's just one potential use case that I'm interested about. And well, it kind of uses the blockchain for what it's supposed to do by simply posting these nullifiers to the blockchain. So we don't actually need to validate all the transactions on chain. We only need the chain, or like this global ledger, to make sure there are no double spends and there's no cheating involved. But the complete transaction validation can happen on the client side. This is what it means, like client side validation. And this has the advantages that not everyone sees your transaction on chain. You just prove to your counterparty that I have spent those coins and I cannot spend them again to someone else. So we have only this ordering mechanism on the chain, and everything else that is not really the purpose of a blockchain can happen off-chain. And this has scalability improvements and, of course, privacy improvements.
Very cool. And script restoration is something that takes that from an idea to something feasible.
Well, it's really about this bridging mechanism. So you could think about any... you can just build kind of more or less anything that you want with the expressivity that it gets. And I believe many people are just kind of scared of that it allows protocols that you don't want to see. So it's the same discussion with opcat. So you just fundamentally, if you look at the script interpreter, you take two of the stack elements and you just concatenate them into a single one. And if you look at it from this perspective, it is really ridiculous. But of course, it enables some kind of protocols that people, they conflate that with, okay, this is an idea from Ethereum, and we don't want to have Ethereum, we are doing Bitcoin. And they take this as an argument for this being a negative and a bad change. And I just believe this is not really thought through. And yeah, also Matthew, for example, today he gave a very interesting talk about ARC signing rounds, and he explicitly emphasized that many of these ideas are only possible because of Taproot, which has often been kind of talked down to, I feel like, and people don't really appreciate it. And you can think about the Bitcoin scripting language. We could simply have this possibility to verify a signature and just spend coins. So you could only spend to another address, and this is all that Bitcoin could be, and it would work. And you don't need the scripting language at all. But there would be no way to build Lightning. There would be no way to build Arc. It was only enabled with these soft forks that we had. And in the same way, you can think about script restoration. It just enables a much larger design space. And the idea for Arc, for example, it came up only after Taproot has been deployed, and Taproot was not designed to enable Arc at all. And script restoration just says, let's maximize what we can potentially do and let researchers come to Bitcoin and really build out something that they would like to see. And I believe having more second layers is just a net positive in any ways, in block space demand and in user experience, because right now we don't really know what is the best second layer protocol for a system like Bitcoin, because it's just so unexplored, because it doesn't have the expressivity.
That's a really good analogy that, Taproot came out in 2021, but Arc was not even conceived of until 2023. So we can't know the fullness of the benefits of script restoration even yet. We haven't fully explored the space. That's a really good way to put it. How can people follow your work?
Well, there are other two bits. So they have been published relatively recently. Please try to read them. Try to review them on GitHub. If you have any questions, just post them right there, or send me on Twitter at _Julian256 _. Just ask me about the VIVs, and yeah, I think something that is missing right now is just review. There has unfortunately not been a lot of interaction after the publication, and yeah, I would just really like to have more feedback. And then the next step for me is to polish the current implementation of that and activate it on the Inquisition Signet. And I hope this will give the opportunity to build out use cases. So yeah, maybe something like a bridging system built on the GSR primitives, and really analyze this concept of the VAROPS budget if it works in practice, right? Because it's really just Rusty and me having thought about it a lot. But I mean, there's so many smarter people in the space, and it would be very helpful if they would just take a look and review and think about it and give some feedback.
Very good. Thank you, Julian.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew.